So what's going on guys, KDis here and welcome back to a brand new video. For today I will show you the top 3 best range DPS builds for PvP and PvE in New World. So for each and every single build I will explain what attributes and perks you want to have, then what gems and specific gear you want to use. Then as well I will show you the best gameplay of me using the build, so you would know which abilities you want to use first on your enemies to get to the highest damage and much more. So with all this said, if this sounds interesting to you, then let's get right into it. Okay, so then moving over to the first build, which is the one and only Fire Staff and Ice Gauntlet. And these are the attributes you want to have. So first things first, no matter from which level you start using this build, you first of all want to get your intelligence up to 150 or even 200, and then start building your constitution. And at the end game always have this 3:1 ratio, so have intelligence 3 times more than constitution. And around level 60 you should have 300 intelligence and 100 constitution. And last but not the least, for your gear you want to go with full light armor, but feel free to have 1 or 2 even medium gear pieces, as long as you stay in the light category. So then moving over to the first weapon, which is the Fire Staff, and these are the weapon masteries you want to have. So first of all you want to unlock both these 2 perks, and then the first ability called the Fireball, and then get these next 3 perks. Then afterwards unlock the second ability called the Pillar of Fire, and then get the next perk to that as well. And now let's take a closer look at the other side and unlock all these 3 perks. Then lastly unlock the last third ability called the Burnout, and then get these 2 next perks. And now from this point you're feel free to pick and choose which perks you want to unlock next. Okay, and now let's move over to the second weapon, which is the Ice Gauntlet, and these are the weapon masteries you want to have. So first of all you want to unlock all these 3 perks, and then the first ability called the Ice Storm, and then get these 3 next perks. Then from here let's move over to the other side and unlock this 1 perk, and then the second ability called the Ice Shower, and then unlock the next perk to him as well. And lastly unlock the last third ability with the next perk. And now from this point you're feel free to use your points in whatever order you like. Okay, so now let's go over to the gameplay where I will show you the best way to play this build. So first of all, for the Fire Staff we have the Q ability, which is called the Burnout, and it is a big dash spell which you can use for mobility, or if you hit an enemy while dashing they will take extra burn damage. Then the R ability is called the Pillar of Fire. I usually use it only on groups of players and never in 1v1s, because it will deal decent damage but you have to stand still for a second while casting the spell, and by doing that you become an easy target for enemy shots, so basically use it only in large scale PvP. And lastly we have the F ability called the Fireball, which is very powerful damage spell, and as it is an AoE spell you don't have to hit directly the enemy with it. You can just aim it at the ground where the target is standing on, and it will damage him as well. So now let's move over to the second weapon, which is the Ice Gauntlet. And your Q spell is called the Ice Storm, which all enemies standing in it will get damaged and slowed. And the more enemies you hit, the higher damage you will get. Then the R ability is called the Ice Shower, which when using will create an ice wall, and if players go through it, it will stun them. And lastly the third ability is basically like an ice block, which by using you put yourself in a block where players cannot damage you, and you can go out of the ice block by pressing the same F key or instead press the right mouse button and make it explode while going out of the ice block, dealing even more damage to the enemies. So then as far as your ability combinations go, for the ice block when farming mobs or even players, the best spell combination to do is place the Ice Storm aka the Q ability on the ground and then go ice block by pressing the F ability. And players or mobs standing in the storm will be taking a lot of damage every second, and you will be fully protected in the ice block. Then of course place the Ice Shower aka the R ability whenever you want to stun an enemy or run away from him, and this will create a wall which the enemy cannot go through. And then as far as your Fire Staff abilities go, use your Fireball and Pillar of Fire on grouped up enemies, and to run away from players or run towards them use the Burnout ability. And especially in wars this spell is really good because when you use it and you do the dashing animation it will do damage to all players that you just dash through, so you can easily one-shot enemies if they just have 30% health. And with all this said, now let's go over my final conclusions for this build. This Fire Staff and Ice Gauntlet weapon combination right now is by far the best DPS build that you could have in New World, and it is the best in PvP and even in PvE. So basically for everything. Because of the perks we have selected in PvE, you don't have to run out of mana ever and waste money on mana potions. You can just easily do only heavy attacks, which you do the same way like normal attacks, by just holding the attack button for a second longer. And I have been personally only playing with this build myself in the real game, so if you're looking for more level 60 PvP, wars or anything like that, then scroll through my channel and you will find a lot more content for this specific build. And then of course, last but not the least, for your weapons, so the Ice Gauntlet and Fire Staff, for both of them use the Emerald Gems. Then for your gear, amulets and everything else, use the Enix Gems, and that's about it. So if you're looking for the best and highest damage build for mages, then this is the weapon combination for you, so have fun. Okay, so now let's move over to the second DPS build, which is the one and only Bow and Spear. And these are the attributes you want to have. So basically this build is built around doing a lot of damage while at the same time being super squishy. And no matter from which level you start, first of all you want to get your dexterity to 200 and then get 50 points in constitution. And then continue putting everything else in dexterity. And around level 60 you should have 300 in dexterity and 100 in constitution. And lastly, for your gear, you want to wear full light armor. So then, taking a closer look at the first weapon, which is the bow, and these are the weapon masteries you want to have. So first things first, you want to unlock the first ability called the Evade Shot, and then get these two next perks. Then afterwards, unlock the second ability called the Poison Shot, and then these two perks. Then now let's take a closer look at the other side and unlock all these three perks. Then lastly, let's unlock the last third ability called the Rapid Shot, and then get these two perks, and that's it. Now again from this point and onwards, you're feel free to pick and choose which perks you want to unlock next. So then going over to the second weapon, which is the Spear. And these are the weapon masteries you want to have. So first of all, I recommend for you to unlock both these two perks and then the first ability called the Sweep. And then get these two next perks. Then now let's go over to the other side and unlock these two perks. Then afterwards get the second ability and of course the next two perks to him as well. Then lastly unlock the last third ability called the Vault Kick. And then get these two last perks, and now again from this point, you can unlock all the other perks in whatever order you like. Okay, so now let's go over to the gameplay where I will show you the best way to play this build. So first of all, I will explain what each ability does and then what is the best spell combination to use. So first of all, we have the bow and the Q spell, aka the Evade Shot, gives you the ability to leap back while shooting an arrow. And it can be used when the enemy gets super close to you, or is about to do a lot of damage and then you just simply leap back 5 meters escaping all of his abilities. Then for the second spell we have the Poison Shot, which shoots an arrow and when it reaches a target the arrow will explode and create a poison smoke. And players standing in that smoke will be taking a lot of damage every second. And lastly, our third ability is the Rapid Shot, which gives you the ability to shoot 3 arrows in 1 to 2 seconds. And then for the other weapon we have the Spear, and the first Q ability is called the Sweep, which if you hit an enemy makes him drop down to the ground. Then the second ability is called the Perforate, and when you use it, it does 3 super fast spear attacks. And if you hit the target with all of them, then he gets stunned for an extra second or 2. Then lastly we have the Vault Kick ability, and if you land it, it will stun an enemy for extra 1.5 seconds. Okay, so then the best way to attack a player is by first of all, from a distance, shoot him once with a normal attack and then hit him with the Poison Shot ability. Then afterwards switch to the Spear and close the gap with one heavy attack, which you can do by holding your attack button for an extra second. And then use your Sweep ability and then activate your Reparate ability, which will do 3 fast spear attacks. Then when the enemy is about to get back up, use the Vault Kick and keep on auto-attacking. When he's finally out of all of your stunts, switch to the bow and use the Evade Shot to create a distance. And then auto-attack plus use the Rapid Shot and finish off the enemy. So this might seem very complicated, but the more you will play, the better you will get. You just most importantly need to understand that when the enemy is further away, use your bow, and when he gets too close to you, use the Spear, and keep on stunning him with all your abilities. As soon as you get your bow cooldowns back up, create a distance and finish him off. So now for my final conclusions for this build. The bow and spear weapon combination right now is super strong and has the highest single target damage from all the weapons in the game. So this build is very good in 1v1 open world PvP, and just with a slight adjustment, you could use it even in 50v50 wars. Just of course you have to consider if you want to play this build, it will be a lot harder and take more time to practice aiming, especially at moving targets, because it may seem easy to land an arrow on an enemy but it's actually quite hard, especially that the enemy will be trying to do everything in his power to escape your shots. Then last but not the least, for the bow and spear you want to use the Emerald Gems, And for all of your gear, use the Pristine Gem. So in a quick summary, if you're looking for a high skilled build, that requires a lot more practice, but at the end game is very good in close and distance fighting, then this is the build for you, so enjoy! And with all this said, now we have come to the last third build, which is the Ice Gauntlet and Rapier, and these are the attributes you want to have. So at the first look, this may seem weird, but for this build we'll be using Converter Gem, so stay tuned for that part. And like you can see, first of all, get your intelligence to 150 or 200, and then start building everything else. And around level 60, you should have 50 dexterity, 250 intelligence, and 100 constitution. And lastly, for your gear, you again want to go with full light armor, but like we already discussed, feel free to use 1 or 2 medium gear pieces. So now let's take a closer look at the first weapon, which is the Ice Gauntlet. And these are the weapon masteries you want to have. So first of all, you want to unlock all these 3 perks and then the first ability called the Ice Storm, and then get these 3 next perks. Then from here, now let's move over to the other side and unlock this 1 perk, and then the second ability called the Ice Shower, and then unlock the next perk to him as well. And lastly, unlock the last third ability with the next perk. And now from this point, you're feel free to use your points in whatever order you like. So then let's go over to the second weapon, which is the Rapier, and these are the weapon masteries you want to have. So first of all, right off from the start, you want to unlock both these 2 abilities called the Fleech and Evade ability, and then afterwards unlock both these 2 perks. Then lastly get the third ability called the Evade. And now let's take a closer look at the left side and get all these 3 perks. And now from this point and onwards, you're feel free to spend your points in whatever order you like. Okay, so now with that said, let's go over to the gameplay where I will show you the best playstyle for this build. And just to save some time, as we already looked into in depth about how the Ice Gauntlet works, so we'll just go straight into the Rapier weapon. So first things first, the first ability is called the Evade, which by activating makes you invulnerable for a split second, and it can be very useful in dodging the enemy attack, but you have to know how to use it. So then the second ability is called the Riposte, and it is a Reflect, which means that when you activate this ability, and if enemy hits you, that damage from you to him will be reflected. So if he does an F ability on you, instead of you getting hit, he will hit himself. And lastly, we have the Fleech ability, which deals damage and provides a small but nice mobility / dash spell. So the simple and straightforward way to attack a player is of course use your Ice Gauntlet and shoot him from a distance. Then as soon as he gets close to you, activate the Ice Storm ability and go Ice Block. Then when the enemy leaves the Ice Storm or the ability runs out, go to the Ice Block and switch to the Rapier weapon. And then depending on the player, you can auto attack him and use the Riposte ability to reflect the damage or evade his shots. And then when you get your cooldowns back up on the Ice Gauntlet, or if you are fighting multiple players and you need a second to get a distance and heal up, then either way use the Ice Gauntlet and activate the Ice Shower, creating a wall which players cannot go through, or instead switch to the Rapier and use the Fleech ability to dash into an enemy. So by doing this, you will do damage to the enemy and at the same time dash away from him. So like you can tell, this build doesn't have one specific best way to play. My recommendation is to learn what each ability does, and with time and practice you will know what to do against each different player and their weapon type. And with all this said, now for my final conclusions for this build. So this Rapier and Ice Gauntlet weapon combination right now is super unbeatable in 1v1s or even 1vx. So for open world PvP, I have seen multiple clips where a player using this build could easily 1v3 or even 1v4. So if you follow this guide, you can easily use this build for solo open world PvP. And then as far as for PvE or huge group PvP goes, I would not recommend this build, but the other 2 builds. The way we chose to spend our points and attributes are made to get 100% damage and cooldown reduction, so you could easily fight one or multiple players at the same time, while still having the ability to protect yourself while doing massive amounts of damage. So then last but not the least, a very important part to know for this build is the gems that we are using. So for the Ice Gauntlet, you want to use the Pristine Ruby gem. Then for your Rapier, get the Sapphire gem. And for all of your gear, get the Pristine gem. So basically, if you're not familiar with how the game works, the Rapier and Ice Gauntlet are 2 different weapons. One is very good with intelligence attribute and the other one with dexterity. But as we mainly have a intelligence build, using these different gems will make a weapon switch from one attribute to another one, making it even deal more damage and just in general stronger. So what are you waiting for? Try this build out for yourself and don't forget to have fun. And that's about it. So, I really do appreciate everyone for watching guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any suggestions, feedback, or other best builds that you would like to see in the next video, then feel free to leave your comments in the comment section down below. And while you're doing that, please click like, subscribe, and enable that notification bell. So this way you could support the channel and you won't miss any more amazing content from me. With all this said, you have an amazing day and I will catch you in my next video. So take it easy. Peace.
Yo, I ain't here for the money, I ain't here for the fame. Though it might be nice to own a jet plane, I'ma do it all for you. Come along and see it's true.